Okay, so now we've got this board going down here, and that there, sort of there, and there's another one going through here. Now here, when we look at this, it's virtually like you can't quite see it, but there's a little lip there, and that there is in shadow. Well, it's all in shadow in that hole there. It's lighter towards out here. In here it's darker, and then it graduates the tone. It's like a graduation. Here it's very dark. We can't see in there at all. So I'm going to use a darker pencil. I'm going to use a 2B. We might even need to go darker yet, but I just want to get these bits in. I'm just on the edge of the pencil on its side, and we just come down. And as I say, we're not trying to replicate exactly the reference photo, but we were going to have it looking a bit like it anyway. That's what we're referring to. That's why it's a reference. So we want it to look a little bit like it. So we'll just darken that up. In there. And then there's in there. And this here, we really cannot. I might just change that a little bit, because I really would like to just put a little bit of this detail here in. I don't know how well you can see all this, and I hope you've printed it out, because you'll see it all. You'll see it. You'll see what I'm talking about. And that comes over. Now this here, actually going to come down a bit further, and there's two bits there, so it's like that, and then it sort of looks like we can sort of just slightly see the little lip inside this bit here, but then again it's just what I think we can see. I'm not really sure. That's where you make it up. You just put what you think. It's your drawing. If you're happy with it, that's all that matters. Now we've got a little bit coming off there. I might have to use a darker pencil. That's fine. Yeah, just coming down here. Might make that a bit different. You can always change things around. Yeah, look at that. See? Yeah, that's a bit dark, a bit more prominent. And that there is actually not so dark, so I'm gonna. Well, it's not so dark. It's not so. It's a narrower gap. It started off quite wide, and now it's virtually on the. So we'll just go like that. Look, there we go. And that way we can get that in. And there's in there. This is sort of in shade here. Yep. Okay, now we go back up here, and we start here, and that is a sort of a little bit of a gap there. It's not just straight. It goes into there. And here it would seem that it is just like this. I'm just going to shade this in. Sometimes when you got your pencil, hope you can see that alright, when you got your pencil flat you can get some beautiful texture. It creates it. You know, it sort of creates bits that you can think, well, you can use that. And now come down here. I've just got a bit more per the point, and there's a little something going on there, and this comes down. Now it comes down to here. There's a crack, and here it's a little bit, so we're just below. It's a bit wider there and darker. So we'll just come down here. Yeah. And then we've got another one up here. The whole thing's got to be shaded anyway. It's not just going to be white. I mean, the light bits, they're not white. They're just lighter shades, that's all. Alright, so now we're going to follow this one down here, and that's going to come down to about here. So, and then there's another one. That sort of comes off there. And there's one here, and that sort of comes in. Now here we can see that there's a little thing going there, and it's like a piece of the actual. It's going to be a bit tricky to try and get it exact, but we'll get it close. You know, so we just put a little, just darken it up a bit there, which will give it a little line in there, which will make it look like it's standing out a bit. Probably not so much at the moment, but when we get, you know, it's still very much the underdrawing, and it's going up there. Yeah. It's sort of at this stage where what I normally do is just give myself free rein. Now here there's a dark bit coming in here, and that's where a bit of the timber's broken off. Here, if we look at this thing there, and then there's sort of another line going down here, which ends up running down here. I want to get this little bit here in, but other than that, I'm not too worried about, you know, getting everything in, really. So here, if we go, and it's about to there, let's say, and then that goes in like that, and then we've got we're just, like I say, we're just taking our time. I guess about there, and there's another piece that's going to go sort of like that. And then we've got all this little grain, or what have we got here? It's like a little bits going on. Oh, I love looking at all these little bits and pieces going in here. Yeah. And we'll just look. Now a lot of this is going to be repetitive, so I'm not going to film the whole process, but I'll just show you what we're going to do here. So this is my 2B. So I'm going to go back to an HB. We don't want it too dark. Not that the HB is dark at all. But I just want to. Now all this in here is dark. So just remember that. So and when doing this, look, just up and down, it's creating a little texture too. Look. It's creating a woody texture, a grainy texture. It's all, if you remember back when we were doing posts and a post and rail fence from the first one, but it applies to all of it. Trees, we're creating our own little texture, you know, like our own little, within the drawing. I mean, yours will be different than mine. We're not, like I keep saying, we're not trying to replicate this exactly. It's going to be close, you know, it's going to be, well, it's going to be a post with an old gate, an old door or whatever it is, with a fork, garden fork. So just going in like this, look. Can you feel it? Feel the graphite on the paper there. And now we're going to have a look in here. Now that's a lot darker in there. So we just go in like this. And we've got a bit of a, yeah. So it's quite dark, so I'll go back to my 2B. It's quite dark just in here, along this edge, because I guess it's the shadow between the post and, you know, what it's next to. So we'll just, it's not actually part of the drawing or the image or anything, but it's just giving it that shadow to the edge of the post. Just blocking it in, I guess. And we can go darker than that. This will do for now. I might as well, while we're doing that, I'll get the, we'll block this in as well. And the top. Yeah. These lines here, although the boards are you know, pushed up flush to each other, there's still a little gap, a dark, you know, it's still, well, there's still a little gap, so you can see these dark bits in here. So we go along here. I'm just going to use my blender. I might just use the brush to start with, a blending brush, just to see what we can do here. And it just, like, you know, it softens things up. Play around with it. Yeah, that's quite effective. Quite effective, yeah. Now here, I just wonder whether I should use my blending stump, because we're trying to see when you look at the edge, it's not just black and then white. It's a gradual softening of the tone. So what we're doing is we're just pulling a little bit of the darkness away from the darkness, and we'll come back over that, and it just creates a little soft, yeah, just a little softness that is you know, the darkness, and then it doesn't just go from dark to light. It's a gradual thing. So now I'm using a 6B here, just to go in here, just to see if that'll make, yeah, look, it's quite a really dark pencil. And you see how we're starting to get that now. We're starting to get the different tones. Okay. Now in this one here, there's not a lot, but we're just gonna look. There's little bits in here and that, but it's mainly that there's light to dark. It's like you've got a lighter tone, mid-tone. There's nothing really super dark. I mean, that would be the darkest, and we're going to go over all that anyway. So I'm just going to come in here, the side of the pencil, once again, just very lightly. And see how it's creating these the grains, you know, just gently layering things. And look at that. I'm not going to put all this on, show it all on film, because it is pretty repetitive. But we'll do, just give you the idea of it. We'll do anything that I think we're going to need, and I need to show you, as in effects and that. We'll stop, you know, we'll stop and I'll go over it. Smoothen it, soften it, and we're going to see little bits in here once we do this. Now it's a little bit darker in this area here on the reference photo, so we'll just go in here and it's sort of, and I'm going to hold a pencil on its side and just put a little bit in there where it's darker, just like this. See, there's little, looks like it's like, I don't know if it's not moss, but just a bit of mould maybe, you know, it's fungus, it's might have been in the shade for many years, so it's, you know, they tend to turn sort of a greenish, and it's got into the little grooves and grain that's already in there. Okay, and a bit down here. So I'm just going to put some grain in here. Look. We're getting it. We're using the reference as a guide. That's what we're doing. And we're not too worried about getting it exact, because that's not what we're about. I'm just going to darken it up a little there. And same under here. Although that's not really necessary at this point, because we've still got a lot of filling in to do. Okay, now I'm going to leave it at that for now. Do a little bit off camera, but I'll show you what I've done and how I've reached or got to that point. But you've got plenty to carry on with here. And just go in, see little bits. It's all about the journey. I know I keep saying it, it's all about the journey, so just take your time. Have a look at it, don't rush it. Whatever you do, don't rush, because you'll get impatient and then you'll get frustrated. And we don't want that. It's all about enjoying it. Alright? Okay, now, off camera, what I didn't realise until I had a good look, I zoomed in, and I sort of wondered why we had, you can see through here, and I didn't even realise, but when I zoomed in and looked at it really close, I could see, you probably see it a bit better on this one, that board is actually broken away all the way down here. I didn't even notice that. So off camera I've done that. We've just put it in that board like this. I've just darkened it up around the edge there. And I've done some shading in here. Yeah, I didn't even notice it. So it's amazing what you can see when you really look. I would not have noticed it. So I'm just going to go in and just shade a bit in here. I don't want to spend too much on this. I want to get this all filled in, and then we'll go back and do then we'll get the detail and stuff in. So off camera, as I say, we've just done that. I've gone in here and darkened up between the door and the post. And I'm just going to go with my HB wood pencil, and we'll come down and shade, and we'll shade this one here. Now what I want to do really is to just do the shading first, and then we'll go in and see, because as we're doing this we will create little textures and what have you. So just using my HB on its side. And you'll see in here, look, although we are trying to follow this as close as we can, but this will pick up little grains and the grain, I mean, and little imperfections and blemishes, and so overall we'll get the desired effect, and it'll look very similar to what we're doing in our reference photo. You've got to sort of keep your strokes long, because if you don't, you end up getting, see how you get, it'll just sort of, there'll be a darker line where your pencil stops if you do it like that. So we've got to keep them long. No matter if we go over this bit here, we're going to go and darken that up anyway. We'll put some more texture in there. Now you can already see, it's like if you look, it's very hard to see on the reference photo, but there's lots of little dark lines in there, and probably what I should be doing really is having my reference photo on my screen, which I have, and I can refer to it. So it's quite a sort of a blotchy type of texture on here. You don't see a lot of grain, so we're going to just put a bit of grain in here just to give it our, you know, an effect, and it'll look pretty much like our reference photo. So we just come and do this, and it's sort of more, you know, unless you look at it really, really close, because the eyes pick up things, and they determine, between your eyes and your mind, they determine what you actually see, don't they? So, I mean, you can put as much detail as you want in, but really it's about the impression that you're trying to create. Not so much an illusion, it's an impression. You don't have to see everything for the eyes to realise what it is. So I'm going to just go in here and just do just like that, just quite loosely, and we'll do this one over here too. Just get it out of the way so we can come back in, and then we're going to put in a bit more detail. So once again, see, I'm just holding the pencil and just to try and keep our strokes fairly straight. We've got our fork handle coming down here. So we're just going a little bit darker on the sides just to show that it's round. This line here is, I'm going to do that with a darker pencil, we'll come back to that, but that's actually behind this fence. It looks like it's some iron. Well, it is iron because we've got a garden shed behind this gate. Well, it's not really a gate now, is it? It's more of an ornamental garden structure that I saved from total annihilation. It was going to be used for firewood. And that's where it was on the firewood heap. I've got some other stuff too that I managed to salvage. It was actually from Anna's, is that from her son's property. He's been restoring a beautiful old, quite a historic place for the area. It's an old telephone exchange, and he's done it immaculately. Is that a word? Immaculately? Anyway, a lot of hours. Alright, now that's that bit done, but it's looking really, really good. Now here, on this little piece, when you look at the actual reference photo, you can't really see it on this, but maybe you can see it on the colour one a bit better. Yeah, there's sort of it's like, I don't know if it's a textured sort of a grain, or if that's part of like a bit of lichen and stuff that's on there. But to create that sort of a texture, we're just going to go in little circles like this. And not the whole thing, just look, see? And that's all we want. Just gives it another texture. Now I'm going to go to my 2B, something a bit darker, and we can see that there's sort of a darker edge coming down here. I'm just going to do that. It just makes it appear to be just lifted, you know, away from the boards. Right. Now I'm going to go in here and just define this a bit more. Even though there's not, you know, there's not edges and things, but we do need to define it. And it's sort of rounded, so we just gently around that line. Give it the same around here. Just to and then there's a steel bolt or tube or something going across there. It's all rusty. And then there's a bolt going in here, which this is hanging on, the handle, the whole fork is. And then there's another bolt here, which goes in there. Now also, this here, if we look at that in detail, and there's little bits going on in here too. We don't want to see that line looking like that so straight, because they're not. And that one there. And then this is quite dark in here because there's no, you know, obviously there's a bit of shadow. And it's a bit darker around here too. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. The hinges, because the hinges are rusty, we're going to go and do the same as we did for the little board down here. I'm going to use my 2B and just on its side, just gently, and it's quite a patchy, you know, we don't want it filled right in. Same here, and near the hinge. Just pushing it over like that, and I'll just come down here and just darken it up a bit in there and there. Yeah, there. Just go around the edge a little. That just sort of makes it look like it's actually away from the wood. And I'll put a little shadow under that. Once again, that just pulls it out, brings it out from the wood. You can do the same down here. So just gently. And here. And just shading just on the edge there. Darken that up a little bit, just around the sides there. And a little shade under here. Now I'm going to go and do the top bit. If you notice on the reference photo, there's a little rain gauge there. I'm not going to put that on because that was just put there afterwards. But we'll go in here and do, I'm going to go with my HB. And we just, on it, same again, we just put it on its side. I will just darken that up a bit, the edge. We might have to come back with a darker pencil, we will. So we're just going to shade in here. And we go this way, that's the way the grain's running. Just with the HB. Now I'm going to use a mechanical pencil and just come in here, only because I want it to be a little bit more defined, and just darken that top bit up. Realistically, this back bit in here should be a lot darker, so we might just go in there with a 4B maybe. Now this here too as well, we can't really see exactly what's going on in there, but it looks like it's a bit broken away, so that's how we're going to do it anyway. It's quite dark just in there. And then we've got some grain, some dark bits in here. And a bit. See, we're just building it. We're just making layers. We're just creating these little grain that you can see coming through. And we know we're not going to get it perfect, but we don't want to. I reckon it's looking pretty good. Now I want to use my darker pencil. I'm going to get, I'm actually using a 6B. Now with the darker pencils, the only problem I have with them is they do become, because they're graphite, the darker, softer ones end up with a little bit of a sheen, which a lot of people don't like. But if we just go, we're not going too dark. If we push too hard, and we're not going to be going to, I'm not going to use the blending stump on it either. Try not to, I just don't want to get too much sheen on it. I just want to darken it up so so that the gate itself is actually standing out. Now, normally what I would do, and I still might do this yet, I'd do this in a pen and ink. With these old structures like this, I love to go over them with my fine liners, and we still may do that yet. And that changes it all again. It really brings it out, makes the darks. The contrast, which is what we're sort of trying to create, excuse me, is obviously highlighted more using the fine liner pen, because you can really get the blacks, the darks. So just gonna even though these are pushed hard together, there's still a little, you can see a little bit, there's still a little bit of a gap, which you're going to see. Now I'm still using that. Of course, here, going across here is what these the rails or the boards are excuse me, are fixed to. So this here would see this, because this is closer. The darkness is obviously behind. Behind that. So I'm not pushing too hard. And this one here, really I'm just want to, go in here like this. I want to take that little line out. We don't need it in there. That was the indent in the iron for the little garden shed, and that's not part of the picture, so we'll just get rid of this line here. Take it out altogether. Well, I reckon it's looking pretty good. Now what I'm going to do, even though I can't really see, I can see a couple of little dots where the boards, or I don't know what you call them, so we'll call them boards, are fixed to these pieces going across. They're very hard to spot, but obviously there's going to be something that's attaching them. So I'm going to just put a little thing in here, and we'll make it sort of run off a bit, because this is all hard wood, so it does tend to split. Another one there. And put a couple in here. And here. And now we're going to go and just put in some a bit more detail, like, and I'm not really going to refer to this too much. What I'm going to do is how we've gone in here with the pencil on its side on the wood pencil, and it's left little marks in here. So we're just going to use those. And that's going to be our grain. That's going to be, look, that's going to be the texture. And just take your time. You'll see them there. Pause when you need to, if you're following along. You don't want to overdo it. We're just going to, I'm going to take a little bit out on this edge. Not just yet, but that's what we're going to do. So just in here. We'll put our own little knots in. Don't forget that's our handle there. Our fork handle. See how we've got this going on here? This is, we've created this just by laying down the graphite. There's sort of little scratchy little bits, mainly on this one. Anyway, I think we're going to make our little rustic garden door. We're going to make it even. That's an artistic license. We've all got one of those. We've all got a license, an artistic one. So we're going to make our own little. We're going to make it even better than the original. Well, we're going to stamp our own individual style on it. We're going to take a bit out shortly, so that's why we're sort of not too fussed about making it too neat and tidy, because we're going to go in. Well, I'm liking that, and I think it's pretty good. We go in here and just gonna blend a little bit of this in, and here we go in there, and that just sort of, when we're doing this, although we're creating the texture in that, but it's also looking at, if we look at it, we've got our darks. It's quite dark in here, and then when we blend it, that sort of makes it like a mid-tone, you know, and that's how we create that sort of depth. So we can make that a little bit darker in here, for example. It is quite dark on the actual reference photo, and that creates another tone, and which gives us the appearance of more depth, you know. Just little things like that. Now notice here sort of a bit darker on here, so we'll just go in on its side, just doing little round circular motions. And we'll go in here. here. I'm going to use the blender shortly just to soften things up a bit. Not too much though. We don't want to get too. We don't want to wipe out what we've done. We just want to soften it all up. There. Just very gently, just doing that very gently, just the weight, maybe a little bit of pressure but not much. See, I like how we've sort of got the lights here and the darks and the mids. I don't know what this timber is, but I'm actually just wondering whether it's a silky oak, because it's sort of got a very tight grain on it. Anna will know, I must ask her. These here sort of look like they could be just the cuts from the saw blade when they were milling it. And here, it's a little bit darker in there because it will cast a little shadow, I suppose. Now I suppose we better do the bottom bit here. Nothing too fancy, you're just going to go in and just shade that in, block it in. We might do down the side as well. Yeah, just here, I'm going to make that a little bit darker. Here's the post coming here. And just a little bit darker under there. And then we'll just have a look at, see the little thing going on there. Once again, we're using an artistic license. There's not really a lot to go on here. It's just a board that I've used to hold the garden back. There's a little bit of garden behind this, even though that's a shed behind there as well. There's soil there. Now I'll blend that just gently. And then we'll go into here and with my 2H, turn that around just to sort of tidy up this bit here. And we just go in here and we want to make it just a bit darker than the actual timber. No matter if we go over the edge, we can always rub that out. just to define it a bit, the edge of the board, the edge of the door, gate, whatever, I don't know. I really don't. I'm going to keep saying door, but there's no door handle, so. But anyway, whatever it is, it's something that's on hinges, open, gateway, doorway. Now, I want to just go in, because I've noticed in the reference and that there's little bits of white in that in there, so we'll just go in with our blue tack and just take bits out, just randomly sort of thing. You see this quite often where there's these sort of lines going across, like faded lines with this old timber, and I think it's got something to do with when it's milled. I'm pretty sure. Alright, just trying to find things now that we can do to just enhance it a bit. I might darken that up. Well, I think that'll just about do us for now. It's one of these drawings, once again, where you know, we can put as much into it as we want. If we want to do a lot more detail, we could put more detail. You know, you'd have a lot of fun. It's just, I can see myself getting real carried away here. But for the purpose of the video, we might just have to leave it there. I'm just going to put a little bit of a line going down there, just to highlight. Maybe one there, and down here. Put on here. Maybe just using my Tombow, just lightly, just coming down. Put these highlights in, it gives it a little bit more definition and what have you. And maybe here. Yeah. And we'll just brush that off. There are little bits and pieces, I mean, we could just take a little bit out there. And there maybe. And then we're going to put a bit of, maybe a little bit of grain going in there. Yeah. But you can see where you could do a lot more to it. I mean, I would be doing a lot more to it, but because it's a tutorial, this is about as far as we're going to go with it for now. You know, probably in a later time I'll come back and perhaps looking at putting a bit more detail. But I'm really happy with where we're at. Just darken that up a bit because that's the area behind the post. Well, there you go. There's a garden gate, or garden door. Just to find that. It's hanging up in my backyard. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up. Well, it's all in there. Thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment. I love those comments. And please subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.